battle started.
Hold on to your seats because we've got a Beyond All Reason match that's sure to deliver some head scratching. Pigz, who's never met a mistake he didn't like, is squaring off against me, Twig, someone who's maybe perfected the art of pretty good or most of the time. Will Pigz surprise us all and pull off a win? With us today we have Tank Tom, Pradith and Brodicus here to bring you all the action.
You're joining us on Eclipsed, and for those StarCraft 2 fans out there, you might recognize the bases on the high ground with the low ground expansions. I know I did when I first saw this map. In the bottom left, we have Twig, who is starting. He hasn't actually placed a lab yet, so we'll see what he goes after this. And Pigz is going into his standard bot start. I expect we'll see an amount of grunts out of him for some early aggression. This is a large map with a lot of metal on it. So hopefully we'll get either one player jumping in to a very early game rush to try and crush the opponent while they're going for a heavy resource start, or we'll end up with quite a large T2 scaling game, which we haven't seen much from Pigz so far. Twig jumping in with a bot start, and he is going straight into a couple of ticks after his first constructor.
There's a lot of geos on this map as well, so there's a lot of potential for energy, and there's a lot of reclaim laying around as well in metal and energy.
Yep.
So res bots out would be excellent as well.
Love to see some res bots out of
see
both
if
players.
they go for the early pressure, or will they go for the expansion with all of the readily available metal points around the map?
Well, starting across the map right from the get-go, Twig is going with his early ticks, faster than the he's getting them out faster than Pigz's pawns. He's going around for the outside, potentially for a flank. Knowing Pigz's general strategy, he's probably expecting Pigz to push across the map with all of his pawns and try to catch him off guard with little to no defense in his base. We've got a construction turret coming out of Twig to free up his commander, and Pigz is using his commander as a construction turret for the time being. Both players scaling up their economies slightly behind this push. I like what Pigz is doing here, spreading his pawns out on the low ground to intercept any attacks, but he hasn't managed to cover one of the ramps into the base. There is a lot of mobility through this map. Every area has usually 2 to 3 entrances, with the exception of the main bases, which are just the one. Ticks coming.
That ramp's just about to be exploited too.
Yes, it is.
Got one tick down the bottom.
And it looks like potentially all of the ticks are going to push into the base because Pigz is pushing across with his pawns. We've got a series of moves to try and get to keep them all bunched up, and it looks like he's going to get them ready for an attack near the base of Twig's ramp.
Pig's got 2 LLTs almost up now, though. So
oh, he's stopped one of them though.
Gap. It's definitely, you can get into the back and chew on some things, but if that commander walks over there, then they're
He has just seen those ticks on their way up.
Yep. Oh, 3 of those ticks down, but one of them in a great position, outside the range of the LLT, which is currently decaying along with the solar collector, neither of which are finished, but the comm is going to clean those up. So only 2 mexes done in damage. Now let's see what Pigz can do in response as we see those pawns getting in position. He's switched immediately over to aggression. Twig with absolutely no LLTs in his base, but enough pawns to potentially push this off. So let's see what happens. It'll come down to the engagements for this one, with Pigz likely taking out one of Twig's in an early jump on.
Unfortunately, Pigz has got those pawns spread out a little bit too much to take a good engagement.
Yep. I still think he'll win that engagement.
He's won, but
Twig is not reacting overly well, but he will clean them up with the comm. So a little bit of damage advantage for Twig so far, and the reclaim left on Twig's side, also a little bonus for him.
It's good to see Pigz working around the comm rather than just trying to run through it.
Yep, that's 1 mex. And another, that's pretty good. Alright, even damage across both sides with a 150 odd metal donation to Twig. Pawn in
And
the
Twig is still raising.
yep.
Raiding, sorry.
Oh dear. Well, that
So he took advantage of Pig's micro being in his base,
mhm.
and went and microed in his other in Pig's base. Because I was wondering why this pawn over here was just sitting there, and it explains it why the tick was being microed as well.
Yep. So that's a good bit of extra damage done by Twig. However, with the commander already in place, those mexes came back up pretty quickly, though. Pig's build order is definitely interrupted. He's running very low on wind, and we saw that Twig was building the Geo in the background, so he's about to be well and truly ahead on the energy income.
Yeah, he's sitting at 83% on that Geo now, so it's not going to be long before he's going to be put that up, drop some converters, and then he's going to be in the money.
Well, we've got a bit of downtime. Tom and Bruticus, what are your predictions so far for this game? Who do you reckon is going to come out ahead?
I feel like saying
if Pigz hasn't picked up his game from the last few, I'd say it's going to be Twig. Because the longer this game goes, the worse situation Pigz gets into. He's not very good at transitioning, and he seems to get stuck on pawns a lot instead of transitioning into heavier units.
Yep.
So I'm probably going to go with Twig tonight.
And Tom, what about yourself?
Yeah, the longer it goes, the more it'll swing into Twig's favor. It's nice to see these pawns going up around the edge again.
Yep, radar popping up, which means that they've just been seen, and Twig should be able to react to them. He's sending his comm over there, though I think that's still... No, I don't think he's seen it yet. Even with the radar up, he's not reacting at all. There we go, now he's seen it.
He's just started.
But those...
They're already there.
Yep. And he's getting in there. What can he do? If he can get all the way around and take out most of the... Yeah, good damage, good damage.
Running past.
Oh, the build turret. That's actually bigger than you might expect.
Geo as well.
He won't get the Geo. There's too much here, and the pawns will take too long to kill it. But that was a great attack by Pigz. I want to see him get the rest of his pawns in. If only they'd been waypointed over here, but instead they're stuck on his side of the map.
It is good to see that they're on their way again before Twig... We'll see whether he can get them over and kind of do the same again before Twig can get fully back up and running again.
Well, Twig's income has dropped significantly. He's got an energy excess like crazy because of that Geo, but essentially very, very low metal income and no way to spend it without that build turret. So
he's put his pawns into that position where he's going to drop that last LLT2, expecting another attack, which looks like it is on the way. We've got another 10 pawns on the way.
With 10 pawns, you could actually crash straight on through that first LLT without even worrying about it and go straight for the Geo. If he takes out the Geo, then I reckon it's his game to lose.
And he can pick off that mech on the way, which even cripples Twig's income even more, although he has just replaced all those mexes.
Yep.
That Resbot's idle in his base. He could be getting those solars up online here. I know he doesn't need them. He could probably even just eat them now. Since you got the Geo up, you don't really need them.
But he doesn't need the metal either at the moment. What he needs is build power. Thankfully, the radar didn't go down, so he is well aware of Pigz' attack coming in. Pigz with some questionably splitting his army in two. With our perspective, we know that's probably not as good an idea as it could be, but it does push Twigs' micro.
It looks like it's going to be repelled. You got the pawns supporting the LLT, and then you got the...
But 3 have slipped through because of that.
Yeah.
That call to split them up. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to get anywhere there with a secondary force. But if he'd managed to time that attack just a little bit better, he definitely would have gotten in a second time. So his early game play is improving with leaps and bounds. We'll see whether it's enough and whether he can gain enough advantage out of it. Looking back at Pigz' base, he's gone with a couple of advanced solars, which I'm not a fan of. The cost of an advanced solar is very similar to the cost of a Geo, and instead of giving you... And it only gives you 75 energy compared to the 300 of a Geo. So...
Well, really quickly, it's a lot more metal in just those 2 solars than the Geo, and you're 3,000 energy short of the Geo with just 2 advanced solars. So really, he's really made a mistake on that front, but that's, part of learning.
Yep.
It is good to see him getting out and expanding onto those mexes in front of his base there.
Definitely agree with that, but it would have been good to see him do it much earlier, considering that he was essentially holding Twig in his base. He could have had a couple of builders going around, just absolutely dominating on metal production.
I also like the fact that he's transitioned just out of, he's not only producing pawns now, he does have mace in there, which I'm not too much of a fan of, but the Centurions against what Twig's composition is at the moment, which is pawns, will be fantastic. A couple of rocket bots in there as well, and he'd be set to win.
Twig looking like he's recovered reasonably well. Looks like he's put down a blueprint for his usual solar farm, acknowledging that he had a metal excess. I'd like to see him get a couple of extra converters down early, because he's consuming all the energy from the geo. So ignore that. I'd like to see him get the reclaim on the metal at the front though. There's 187 sitting there, which could turn into more units. Finally pushing out of his base as well, which he definitely needs to do. Army-wise...
He's not consuming all that energy. He is maxed on energy. He needs to drop that slider and, like you said, put down some more converters first.
Oh, he definitely was. The converters definitely weren't popping open before. Must have been while the comm was helping build, because the comm has a decent amount of build power. Yep.
He might need to adjust his conversion slider as well.
Army value, both players are actually running pretty evenly, and income is reasonably even when one of them isn't reclaiming. So despite the early damage from Pigz, doesn't seem like he's actually managed to hold it into much of an advantage, especially not with Twigs getting those about to get those mexes up. Twig pushing around the outside to check for expansions and check for additional metal. He's not going to find anything.
I really like what Pigz has done over here. He's got 2 pawns just sitting there waiting for a constructor to waddle over.
Yep. Achieving a similar thing to what Twig is doing, but instead of using 17 units, he's using 2. So, definitely like that.
Might be an engagement just about to pick off here.
Yep. Twig knowing that with his pawns, his only hope of actually fighting into that is to get a surround, but Pigz pulling back in time and holding his ground.
Once those 2 Centurions linked up, it was definitely going to be a bad time.
Yep. Centurion's able to absolutely rip pawns apart. And that means Pigz is getting a more and more dominant position on the field, more and more metal income. Wonder which player will go for the T2 transition first.
It looks like Pigz has forgotten about the units that he saw coming through.
Yep.
That top side there.
Though they're not actually set to go for an attack, they're set to come back to Twig, so
yeah,
maybe something, maybe not.
Around here.
But one of the areas that Pigz is definitely falling behind on is eco. No geo, only 3 advanced energy converters, only 6 wind. Eventually, that's going to come and bite him in the butt. As we've got potentially looking like Twig is getting ready for a T2 transition with all of that extra solar and all of those extra converters. Probably looking for somewhere in the realms of 30 metal income before he makes that swap. But
Pigz is definitely seeing that army now. You can see maneuvering these units into position.
Yep. Thankfully for Pigz, he might actually try and go for a snipe to catch the back end of those units. We'll see how that goes. Army values at the moment is 1,000 metal in Pigz's favor.
Yeah, he's rocking 11 Centurions on the map at the moment. It's a lot of stopping power for a anti-grunt army. But Twig has his own Centurions now. He's got 7 up in his base, and he's done an air transition as well. So he's going for his usual cheeky air.
Yep. Don't think that that's going to work on Pigz, because just out of fear of Twig not doing anything recently, he's put a large series of anti-air already in his base. So we'll see whether Twig actually manages to get anything done with that.
It's not right in his base either. He's put it a bit further out, which I'm glad he has taken that advice from earlier, so he might be able to engage the bombers before they drop their bombs.
He's built 5 air transports. He's moving those Centurions
and then
around.
He's gonna and he's going to follow it up with gunships by the looks.
Yep.
There's the air scout, and then another 9 gunships after this next air scout. So he's going to drop Centurions into, what are they? Banshees.
But he's flying them
That'll be
directly over
interesting.
pawns, so if Pigz is paying attention, he'll see this coming.
Pig's cursor hasn't gone yet, but he would have got the aircraft detected warning.
Yep.
So he won't be expecting a drop, but he'll probably be expecting bombers.
Yep. I haven't actually seen
Be
a
nice to
drop
see
so
him.
far, so this will be a very interesting bit of tech, and has the potential to absolutely destroy Pigz. Very little defense in the base, just the 1 LLT.
Let's see what that air scout got.
He's got 2 anti-airs up, a third will be close.
He's got 3 of them up, actually. He's got 2 up the top, and then he's
yeah.
got 4, 2 down the bottom. Now he's gone balls deep in his AA, but there's those Centurions.
Oh, they haven't gone
He's
down,
lost
though.
2.
There we go. 3 of them in the
Lost
back
2
of the
them.
base. That's a lot of potential damage.
Go on, Pig. Oh, Pig sees them. But he's not rallying units back. He's rallying units out from the outside back instead of setting the lab to rally there.
Yep. If these take out Pigz' energy production, there is this is going to be a very bad day for him.
I'm quite disappointed in Pig's lack of energy expansion. Like 3 advanced solars, great, but he needed more wind.
Yep. That's a lot of damage done in. Most of the mechs is in the base, and all of Pig's energy except for 1 solar converter. Pigz is in fact, all of his energy. Pigz is in a rough spot with that.
But he does have a large army on the front as well.
He does, and
he's
Pigz is
commanded
doing
up
the
with
right
that army.
thing. He knows that his base is essentially done for, and so he's pushing in while Twig is distracted, microing in his base. Huge amount of damage done to Twig's pawns, and no damage done to the maces and the Centurions. So we'll see whether Twigs can repel this attack.
No, I think he will. The Banshees are coming in now. He's got 11 Banshees coming in to intercept this attack, and there's not a single crossbow in that composition to deal with them.
Those Centurions are surprisingly effective against gunships. Probably not effective enough to continue the attack, but they will do a decent amount of damage.
Fortunately, yielding this ground is leaving a lot of reclaim for Twig.
Yeah,
what have we got there? 1.7
huge reclaim field.
thousand reclaim. That's like half your T2 right there if you want to transition.
Yep.
But he's already transitioned. He's got 2 hounds out.
Yep.
With more to come.
Twig,
What are we looking at? He's just got hounds on repeat.
Twig definitely has taken over this game, and as we predicted, if it went late, it was probably Twig's game to win. Very unfortunate for Pigz. He made a lot of good moves, but he wasn't able to capitalize on them after the early game.
That was a fantastic early raid of him on Twig's eco.
Yep.
Cleaned up most of it except for the Geo.
Unfortunately, he could have used that opportunity to potentially scale into a better eco than Twig, but we got more early attacks that ended up getting blunted. So the aggression was good, but it didn't quite land.
He's only just getting his mexes, starting his mexes back now too.
Yep, I think he went for
the energy getting rebuilt first.
Yes, he doesn't have the energy to even sustain the mexes he has.
He's got this idle con. He's going into building solars. Yeah, he's full of metal, so that's a good idea. At least he's not going to be pissing it into the void.
Yep, and he's got his com building them too, which is great.
Good job. Another thing he could have done, he's got the com building them and having the construction vehicle just reclaiming trees as well. Not as efficient as the Resbot, but it gets you that initial energy to power the power your metal extractors.
Yep. Twig with a compass and a smuggler on field, so he's going to have mobile radar and mobile anti-radar. Should make it very hard for Pigz to fight this. Once you hit T2 and are capable of blocking out radars, if you get a massive hounds against T1 units, you're essentially going to push across with little to nothing that Pigz can do about it. And unless he gets his economy straight very, very shortly, Pigz will find that this push will be GG for him. especially with Twig taking more mechs across the map.
Looks like Twig's grabbing a second Geo, and he's also building an advanced Geo on his base.
Pigz, it looks like, is pushing into those hounds, unaware that they're there. This will be a pretty one-sided fight. Good thing he turned around as soon as he saw that. He probably heard the T2. Probably heard the T2 warning and turned around. His best hope is to try and hold that high ground, but against a unit that outranges him, he probably won't be able to. Twig still in the background, scaling his economy. He's getting the advanced Geo up. I expect that comm to head to the mexes after he's got that advanced Geo up. Hounds pushing across the middle. And this could be a big problem for Pigz because the commander cannot walk away from hounds. Twig using the control move command to keep all of his units in a formation.
And he pulls the units back, but not his comm. No, he's pushing them forward. And his comm.
Pushing the comm forward is not the move right now. If Twig is paying enough attention, he'll be able to snipe it. Though, with that extra range, it'll just be fighting the units.
We can see some ticks coming out for Pigz to, by the look of it, go and clean up those mexes.
Yep, good plan. If he can send those around and take out those extra mexes and the Geo, it probably won't be enough to stop Twig, but it will certainly slow him down, and he's reacting with all the hounds. Definitely an overreaction.
Pigz has also got a small army of Centurions and Thugs moving in, or Maces moving in to finish it off.
Yep.
And a Fawn.
I really like that.
Successfully done.
He's doing everything he can to get back into this game. Small attacks all over the map to keep Twig on his toes. Looks like he's going to get the Geo.
Positions as well.
Yep. And all he has to do is grab those 3 ticks that are in that other mechs line and bring Twig all the way back down on metal again.
I didn't notice Twig starting out a sneaky air constructor too before he had his lab, so he's down here claiming some mexes in Pig's land.
Always a good idea. The cost of one air constructor is not very high, and if you manage to hold any of these mexes for more than a minute, you'll have paid for the constructor and the mex itself.
Pigz's commander looks
is on its own.
Out of position.
Yep, and the hounds haven't
the hounds know it's there, but they can't see that it's a commander.
Twig has noticed.
But they're going for it anyway.
And he's going for it. And this will be GG. Unless we get to see the most amazing D-guns you've ever seen. GG. Great early game by Pigz, but unfortunately Twig was able to keep a cool head and even things back out and then pull ahead during the air and T2 transition. Got to keep scaling that eco. Let's drag our players back in while we have a quick look at the stats. Energy excess, both players reasonably high. Twig more so, obviously because of that early Geo. Metal excess, both players did reasonably well on that. 2k for Twig and 800 for Pigz. Definitely that period of time with no energy hurt Pigz in that regard. But the real story comes from the damage. Actually, comes from the graphs where we have a look at the damage dealt, and we can see Pigz's attacks each into the base at the beginning, fairly even for the rest of the game until Twig took over. Great try out of Pigz, but unfortunately no win today.
Absolutely.
Twig, are you joining us?
Fairly paid by Pigz.
Sorry, yep, I'm here.
Twig, you got absolutely crushed in the first part of the game, but you managed to pull it back. What was running through your head when that early attack came through? Did you think that it was going to be GG, or did you think you'd be able to pull it back?
No, I knew I'd be fine. Come on, man. Nah. I had just done a tutorial with Pigz actually in a inactive AI game, just about transitioning out of that first attack into a bit more eco, and I was hoping he took my advice, but he didn't. He went and just continued that aggression. So I learned that the hard way, but luckily lots of metal in the bank, and I had my res bots out to resurrect some of that stuff that went down pretty quickly. But yeah, definitely great raiding, Pigz. You did a lot more damage than I did. How'd you like my little Centurion drop in your back line?
Yes. Well, that's what crushed me. I had everything all over. I thought, right then, normally Twig moves himself out, so I'll put little, like, bots and things out there. So if you do start coming, then I'll know where you sort of are. And that's what I was doing. I thought, well, he's not there. He's not there. And I remember Brutus was telling me, if you're going to do air, make sure it's not right close to everything. Push it out. If I'd have pushed it out a bit further to the edges, I think you'd have lost at least one of them, and I would have known a bit earlier. You know what I mean? So that was
Definitely
a
on
bit
that
of
cliff face. That cliff
yeah.
face to the north of your base, definitely put him there. Worst case scenario, he sets up something on the plateau across and shoots them. But at least they were there, ready to go, and they would have picked off a lot more Centurions. He might have had to do his drop on that other plateau and then walk, or just cancel the whole
I
thing and
did
take them
actually
back to base.
send a scout out, and that was able to tell me where that that first anti-air was, and that's why I put them right in that corner, because it was outside the range. You did have another one in the back of the base though, so that did
I
manage to
should have
take down two
realised
of them.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously I took that down. I saw it. I actually was where that scout was. I saw it coming over, and I thought, wonder what that is. So I'll just move myself over. And what I should have done then is twigged where what I should have done is built more out. Got a constructor out over there and started building more, because that should have twigged in my mind. But obviously I was doing other things at the time, and that's why I sent some pawns down. But I split the pawns because I thought, well,
why'd you
you've
send
got
your
to sort of-
commander out by itself? I didn't even know I got the win then. I just had the hounds on a command to move across and scout everything that I could get on my radar. I wanted to get into a marauder, but you didn't give me the opportunity.
Oh well, no, you tried to get it out. The trouble is when everything was okay, I moved him out. But obviously, because you did that Centurion job, it blew everything up. I thought, right, I'm gonna have to start building. You know what I mean? And I thought, well, I'm already halfway over the map. It takes so long to get back there. And what I didn't realize in this one was, obviously, wind was absolutely dreadful. You start with your wind, and I only realised at the top it said 10. If it had said 20, I should have gone solar to start with, I think, instead of doing wind, and that stopped me early on as well.
Yep.
Although on the graph
I'll
doesn't
just jump
show
in
that,
there.
which is strange.
For those viewers, it'd be real good if you could like and subscribe to these videos. Increasing our popularity will help motivate and get us to get more content out to you guys, and also leave some comments noting anything that you guys like to see from us.
Or join our Discord and you can send us some cool replays of yours where you've done some magic shit and flogged someone, or dumb moments. So feel free to jump in with us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us.